Alright, so I'm about to show you how to do something that I've been calling the Nedko Shot Rig. It basically behaves the same way a Ned rig would, only you're kind of suspending your crawl or TRD, hula sticks, what have you, off the bottom. You can kind of set a desired distance from the bottom to where the lure is suspended. Why would you want to do that? Initially, there were three big things that made me want to experiment with this. First, I was losing a lot of jig heads when fishing in rocky creek bottoms. As anybody knows that's had some experience with fishing, often as not, it's like a weight or a sinker that gets stuck rather than the hook. So I thought that maybe if I could get it up off the bottom just slightly, I might save some at least part of some rigs. Number two, going back to fishing in current, well, you've got like a 16th ounce jig with a light wire size 1 hook. I like to drift jigs, but whenever the current is too heavy, it's kind of not controllable, or maybe there's a time where you don't want the jig to move unless you move it. And say you need half an ounce, 3/4 ounce, what have you, to keep the jig still. I don't have a jig that heavy readily available that still has that light wire hook, and plus, if the jig's that heavy, your TRD may not stand up anyway. So with this setup, I can essentially add any type or weight of sinker to the rig without it having an adverse effect on what the bait is doing. Completed, it looks something like this. There's just a little dropper line here that's threaded through the bait, and it's anchored by an O-ring, and you'll also be skin hooking your bait with your hook through the same O-ring, but they're not directly connected. So oftentimes just the weight will get stuck, say wedged in a rock, or the line's wrapped around a tree or what have you. You pull, and most of the time that split shot just pops off and you get the rest of it back. A couple of times I've had it stuck so bad that the line actually cut through the O-ring, and I lost my dropper and my weight and my O-ring, but I still got my hook and my TRD back. So, you know, that's a benefit to it. Kind of a tangential benefit that really wasn't what I was going for, is you can set a depth that it's suspended at, and with the correct hook, it'll still just float tail up like a regular Ned rig, only it's half a foot, 2 feet, whatever you make it off the bottom. And if conditions are suitable, I would still rather be just fishing a jig, because you don't have to rig anything up, but you can make the drop line extremely short and just have the split shot right here against the head, and then maybe if the split shot gets stuck, it pulls off, you get the rest back, but it's still behaving more or less like a conventional Ned rig. Another thing, one of the local lakes that I fish in, after it's gotten colder, has gotten a coat of algae on the bottom, and I couldn't drag a jig across the bottom without it getting all gunked up. Um, so you can have you can configure the weight any way you want to. Like I've just got a single split shot on here. Um, this one I've got a 16th ounce worm weight, a plastic bead, and a split shot, and foam probably won't pick that up, but it'll rattle a little bit. So, maybe that will be an attractant, maybe it won't, but I just wanted to experiment. But earlier today, I caught a dink largemouth on a copper truce TRD that had this exact setup, and then a few casts later, got hung, and the split shot still popped off, the bead and the bullet fell off. But I got the dropper line, the O-ring, and the TRD back. So let's try to get going on rigging one of these. Really, virtually any type of soft plastic can be rigged this way, but I know there are Nedko or wacky tools to put O-rings on, but this is just a piece of a stolen ballpoint pen that my wife probably brought home with her. And of course you've got your O-rings. This is listed as size 010. It's a 1/4 inch inside diameter. You can go up to a 011, which is 5/16, and it'll slide right onto a TRD or hula sticks with no tools, but it's less secure. It'll also go on a TRD craws, but you have to kind of spread the O-ring out a little bit. So I started off using 5/16, and then I got some that were 1/4. I ordered some off of Amazon, and they're just industrial O-rings. After the fact, I saw that there were like wacky kits that had O-rings for cheaper than what I got these for. But just search Amazon for 010 O-rings, or Lowe's in the plumbing section. This is not the most economical, but you get like maybe a dozen or 10 in a pack for $2 or $3, and it'll have the inside diameter listed on it. So you want either a 1/4 inch if you are going to use a tool, or 5/16 if you're not. But anyway, let's get going. So first, what you need is some line for your dropper. I've got multiple spools just laying around that don't have enough to re-spool a reel, but are enough for like making leaders and whatnot, as I'm sure most of us do. So I don't have the greatest dexterity, so I pull out about 1.5 feet to 2 feet. It makes, even if I'm only going to put 6 inches of dropper down there, it makes it easier for me to tie the knot whenever you're done. And I apologize, the lighting is crap in here. I've actually got my headlamp shining down on this divider from a case of Mountain Dew, and my phone is actually perched on top of that case of Mountain Dew. So this video was powered by Mountain Dew. So you'll want to thread your line through your O-ring. Get it to where it's set approximately dead center in the line, and then thread your O-ring up on top of your pin. I was threading the line through the center of the pin and sliding the O-ring over and then putting it on, but I found this to be quicker. So after you've got it, just take your bait, pop the tail in, and and you won't get very far with this particular ink pen. If you've got a bigger tube, you can go farther, but I don't need to go farther anyway. But you've got it up there. Just push your O-ring off, pull your pen off. And now we have to somehow get these lines back through the body of the bait and out the bottom. I've tried using regular sewing needles, but particularly for longer baits, they were just barely long enough, and I didn't like that. I tried baiting needles, and they were the easiest, but they seem to tear the plastic up pretty good. Probably not a big concern with Elastec, but I didn't like it anyway. So I ordered these Dispense All Brands dispensing needles. These are 18 gauge by 4 inches long, so plenty long enough for what I want to do. If I had it to do again, I would probably order a 16 gauge because my crap eyesight and crap lighting in the house. This is fairly easy to do in sunlight for me, but you might have to hang in there. It may be a struggle to feed this back through. So just push on the end. The outer skin is going to give you quite a bit of resistance, but just push until you feel it pop through, and then you bring it out the top approximately where your O-ring is, and some salt or glitter may come out on the tip of this, and you know, generally you can just knock it off. There's a little fleck of salt on the side of the needle right now, but that doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to get this in my headlamp light here to try to give me the best chance of doing this in under 15 minutes. But pinch down to the end of one of the lines, just get like maybe a 1/4 inch, what have you. And this is as much by braille as by eyesight. And get it started into the needle enough that it's not going to just fall out. Don't push it all the way in all at once, because I found that if you do that, the first line has a tendency to kink and curl up inside the needle, and then you may have trouble getting the second one started. It's harder to do the second one to begin with. Well, looky there, right off the bat. But once they're both started, just feed them through until they show up out of the bottom. And then you just grab, pull your needle out, and then pull the slack out. And there you have it. You're pretty much done. You just, at this point, you decide on your sinker configuration. The simplest to do is just tie a triple overhand knot and then pinch a split shot on, just finger tight roughly where the knot is. You've got the option of getting as elaborate as you want to, maybe something more like this. You can put a drop shot weight on. I think I'll do that now. One thing with the drop shot weights, at least the ones that I have, you have to feed the line through before you tie the knot. But you know, I honestly just got my drop shot weights yesterday and I haven't fished them yet, so I'm not sure of if they will come loose like a split shot will. But let's see if we can get to both lines through at once here. Probably not. There you go. So I've got my drop shot on, and you know, I've got an excess of length here. I'm probably only going to have fished this at 5-6 inches off the bottom, but I don't have the greatest dexterity or eyesight, so I kind of need a surplus of line. So I'm going to do, since this is a split shot weight, I'm going to see if just a single overhand knot will work here. It should catch it. So yeah. And there you go. The leads are uneven, so you can kind of adjust that. Oh, wait a minute. That was my tags. Okay, but yeah, just at this point, like I said, with a split shot, I will tie like a triple overhand knot, maybe a quadruple, depending on the weight of line that I've got. And this is 4-pound test, and I'm fishing with 6-pound leaders. So I know this is probably wrong, but hypothetically, 2 4-pound test strands should be 8 pounds of strength, but I've found that something usually gives before losing the whole rig with the 4-pound test, and I have plenty of surplus laying around here. But yeah, that's TRD crawls. This is just a coppertrees TRD with a split shot, and PB&J TRD with kind of a worm weight bead split shot rattle setup. So yeah, you can make it as elaborate or as simple as you want to. And another cool thing is with these reusable weights, you can change weights on the fly, or if you want to try a different color, you can move this weight to another weight if you have them pre-rigged. This is probably not something for the guy with the bass boat that has a rod for every type of fishing and he has a dedicated split shot rod, but for somebody like me who bank fishes or wades whenever it's warm enough, most of the time I'm only carrying one rod. And I can say, take this off and go to a spinnerbait and put this rig away fully intact. If I want to go back to it, all I have to do is tie my hook back on. Or say I'm fishing a nose-weighted fluke. I could just take the hook out of the fluke and put in this and go to this. But I've been using number 2 Mustad Ultra Point Octopus and Owner size 1 Mosquito Lights. I think overall I like the Owner better. It's a lighter wire. They are sharper straight out of the package, and you probably can't see it, but the point of the Mustad has a bit of a curl to it, makes it a bit less easy to resharpen it. The only pro I've found to the Mustad is it tends to kind of hold its place once it's inside the lure better, but yeah, you just tie your hook on, skin hook it, and you're ready to fish. Another feature is this O-ring, you can move it up or down the body of the TRD. So say you wanted to hook it all the way down here, you roll this O-ring down, it's going to take some effort, but it'll draw the drop line up through the center, and once you get to the tip, you can hook it down here. Or you could hook it dead center, wacky style, and I haven't really fished it like that, but I imagine that the TRD would probably just float horizontal if you had it that way. But I've got it slightly below center, so it fishes tail up. But hopefully this helps the finesse fishing community out, and you know, if you have any ideas on how to improve the process of doing the rig, or questions, fire away. But yeah, sorry, this is by no means a professional video. Like I said, I'm doing this with my phone on top of a Mountain Dew case with my headlamp shining down. No editing, all uncut, blah blah blah. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully this helps someone.